What's up? We are back with another high ticket sales call role play. Bart is going to be the closer here, and Ben is going to be the prospect for a high level founders community. We're going to go through the discovery part of the sales call because that is the true thing that you need to be putting your time and effort into mastering if you want to master sales, if you want to master your income, if you want to help a lot of people, and if you want to live the life of your dreams as a high ticket closer. If you don't know who I am, my name's Josh Lyons, and I was able to build my income from $0 all the way up to $100,000 a month in commissions. And the one biggest thing that I focused on was the discovery. So in this training, you're going to see the things that are missing in your discovery that can help take you through that ascension. So without any further ado, let's crack in.
I looked through the notes that Andy had written from your previous call, so I've got all those details. I am curious to hear, just Ben, in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge for you right now as a founder?
I mean, the biggest challenge with my business there's a ton of them, but I think the thing that drew me to looking into what you guys do is it's just kind of lonely, like there's not a lot of people where I'm at that are kind of on the same level. They're doing the same things. I'm in a smaller city, and I feel like, while the business is done well, I'm kind of missing out more on the social aspect. Adventures, maybe. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm missing out on, I got like the business stuff is going fairly well, but it's the other part of my life that's not the best right now.
Okay. Okay. So like you said, you felt lonely. I'm curious, what does like your current social situation look like at the moment?
Pause. Again, very calibrated with this type of offer and this type of prospect. With a normal offer and a normal prospect, when we're really digging someone into pain and glass half empty, you would just focus on you're lonely, you're missing out, blah, 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 blah. This type of offer, this type of prospect, you're collaborating more. So I would have said, that's awesome. Business is doing very well, but, and then you put him back into the pain side of things. With this type of offer and this type of prospect, if he's talking to you about, hey man, my business is doing good, things are good on that side, but the things over here are not good, you want to match him. Okay, got it. So business is doing good. You've made progress there. Business is pumping, but blank, blank, blank. Because on this type of offer, you got to be much closer to on the same level as him. Whereas on another offer, you're like framing someone up. So this is high level understanding the differences between these types of things. Does that make sense? It sounded weird that you just ignored the fact that he said my business is doing great when you're a advisor and an enrollment specialist for an offer about hanging around with people that are doing well in business. It was just not calibrated to not say, you're almost kind of nudging him and saying, oh, cool, you're a good fit on that part. You've got a business that's doing well, tick in the box. To not mention that just seemed like too salesy.
No,
Does that make sense?
that. 100%. And I've often wondered, it's like, I know that I'm not going to go right into the lonely piece right there because it's just like too soon. But also then I'm like, oh, do I collect the brass tacks of his social situation? But what I'm hearing from you is just like acknowledge the business success and really use that as like the recap to then go more smoothly into the current situation of his social life.
Yeah, because with a lower level prospect, them saying like, oh, my family life is going great, but I'm poor. You're not on the call to talk about and say, pat on the back, well done, you've got a great family. Hey man, you're fucking poor. Like that, that's not why we're on the call to talk about, that you've got six-pack abs, but you've got no money in the bank. Whereas with this, it's like, these are people that their level of expectations in all areas are much higher. And we're more being focused on the nuance of this level, the social is not really as high as how I'm doing in the other area, but you need to talk more universally with this type of prospect. So I would just say both and acknowledge both. Whereas with a normal prospect, we're kind of ignoring anything good that they say because they're a low level person. So we just need to be laser focused on, we're on a sales call to talk about your pain and to solve your problem. Does this make sense? And guys, just very quick side tangent. This is the whole point of scriptless selling, guys. Like even the principles that I've told you is like, well, there's certain scenarios where that's not really going to be the normal principle. And that's the whole fundamental essence of scriptless selling is you are reading the room one by one by one with each individual prospect. Most of them can be bucketed into higher level people, mid-level people, low-level people, this type of avatar. But there's always a case-by-case basis, and that's the power of scriptless selling, is it is flexible for every situation. Does that make sense? Ben, you seem like you're having a light bulb moment here.
I did, dude. I was like, God, that's a good
Beautiful.
way to think.
All right. Keep going, Bart.
Well, that's awesome, Ben. It sounds like things with the business are going really well. I'd be curious to just hear though, with the social side of things, like what's that situation look like for you right now?
Yeah, I have like business friends around the world because I've been in lots of masterminds. I've met a lot of people, but they're around the world. And so here locally, I spend most of my time. I travel a few times a year, but as far as like my day to day or week to week, it's a mix. I have people that I met maybe at the gym that some of them are like they're interested in what I do, but it's like we can't really talk on that level. And then there's high school friends and college friends that every now and then we still shoot the shit and meet, but it's nothing like, maybe we'll go play golf or something like that. But it's like, we're not really, it's hard for us to connect like we used to because I'm just feel like a lot has changed.
Yeah, and Ben, when you say you said like talk on this level, what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, people that just like get it, the people that know what it's like to have a successful business and they're not worried about who's going to pay the check at the restaurant. They're not like, oh, like just splitting the Uber, just, I don't want to call them poor, but basically poor people.
Sure, sure. No, I hear you. Was there something that happened recently that just made that more abundantly clear?
Pause. Great question. You don't really want to use up it's kind of like a turning point
Kind of early.
question or a specific example that early. Let's
Okay.
paint a little bit more with broad strokes. So great question.
Okay.
You're asking, okay, is that like a hypothetical thing that you're just using as an example, or is this your actual experience? So you can
Hmm.
say it like that, but a simpler way to say it is that what's going on right now in your social circle, Ben? You're asking like in general, is this what's happening? Yeah, we're doing Ubers and we're kind of splitting them and we're going out to food and not sure who's paying, as opposed to, was there one singular example? That's too early for this point in the sales call. Once we've got
Hmm.
really precise on what the real crux of his pain is, then we ask, okay, was there an exact example of this minutia of the pain? And then that's like the breaking point where you can move out of the discovery and start closing him up. Okay, so just broad strokes more to begin with. Okay, keep going. But you're on the right lines that you needed to
Okay.
get more
So
clarity on his situation.
yeah, so I hear what you're saying. I mean, having people to talk at that level, obviously about business, continue to grow. It sounds like right now, just with the high school friends and people that you don't have that same connection with, because let's be real, you've just like outgrown those circles. What I'm hearing is that you just don't have anyone in your life right now that you can vibe with at that level, who's not going to like send you a Venmo for a dinner out.
Yeah, at least not locally.
Okay, but beyond locally.
Pause. Another one for this type of prospect and this type of offer, word economy. You talked too much. For a lower level prospect, you can get away with that. You can do a whole
Okay.
recap on every fucking thing that they say because they need it, because otherwise they'll forget what they just said. High level prospect, you need to be much more economical in your words.
Mm,
Okay. Otherwise they'll check out. And remember, as with every offer, even though you're not the product or the service or the fulfillment team, how they view the product or service or fulfillment team is through you. If you're talking too much, they're like, oh, do I really want to join this group of over talkers? Maybe inside the group, they're all like high level guys that are very economical with their words, but their impression is you are a representation of what's on the back end. So you got to be very careful that you're not only closing him, you're also somewhat demonstrating how it's going to be on the inside. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Keep going.
All right, Ben. So what are you seeing or maybe not seeing right now in your social life that, makes you feel that you just don't have like that same connection?
Okay, so to give you an example, like a few weeks ago, I went to Toronto and I met up with some of my friends that are business owners there, and it was a lot of fun.
Pause. Let's go back. Wasn't a great question. I don't think we'll
Okay.
go that great.
Right.
Notice how I can use a direct and a very specific question to pull out the pain point. So I'm going to jump into the role play. I'm just going to do one question. Ben has just said, oh yeah, the Ubers and the paying for meals, blah, 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 blah. I would literally just say, interesting. So there's maybe a disconnect with their Uber paying and your Uber paying and food and this, that, and the other. How much typically do your friends earn, Ben?
Anywhere from probably 70 to 100K, in that range, I would guess.
A month.
A year.
Okay. And what do you earn?
My take home is probably around that a month.
Okay. So you're basically hanging around with these guys that when it does come time to pay Uber or pay for food, they are 12 times poorer than you.
Yeah.
Okay. You see how much like I'm pulling tangible things out because I got an actual hard data and a hard number. There probably wasn't anything more punchy that you could do when he said, oh, there's these issues with paying for Uber and paying for food. Okay, well, how much do your friends earn? Well, 70 grand a month? No, a year. Okay, how much do you earn? Well, I earn that a month. So you're hanging out with guys that are 12 times poorer than you. Yes. Interesting. So like from whatever that was, 3 or 4 questions, so much more juicy than what you did. So you see how you got to think creatively on a call. Like, what are the hard data points that are going to give me the compare and contrast? Well, the hard data point, obviously, this guy makes more money than his friends. So pretty simple data point. How much do your friends make? How much do you make? So, and then I'm doing what I sometimes do with things like taking a monthly amount, timesing it by the years it's been going on for, and showing someone the big juicy number. I'm just showing him a 12x, but a negative 12x. You're hanging out with guys that are 12 times poorer than you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, totally. And then from there, I mean, if when he acknowledges that and you let it sit, are you going into impact or what are you doing from that point?
No, I don't know, because when I'm jumping in and out of role plays, I don't really get into the rhythm of it. It's hard to know like where would I go next. But I probably would just zoom out and go and talk about another topic. Not another not his romantic relationships, but like
Right.
let's talk about another example. Okay, we talked about Ubers, we talked about meals. I know their salaries.
Right.
I might go
So,
somewhere like, I don't want to tell you because I don't want to give you the next
all right,
bit.
I think I have an idea.
What
I have
else
an
is
idea.
going on? What
Yeah.
else is going on?
Yeah.
All right, jump back in, but see where you go.
Okay, so you're hanging out with friends that are 12 times poorer than you.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And with that group, do you feel like, do you have a good time with those guys?
Pause. Again, like when you ask me like where would I go next, it's like, well, I only know in the moment based on
Right.
what's happening. That time when you said it, Ben was like, well, I guess you could say it like that, and laughing and whatever. Because Ben's reaction to the question was him trying to dissipate the pressure, I'm going to bring him back down into the pressure. So what is one word that you could have said when he's trying to, let the hot air spread out? What could you have said that would bring him back to, hey man, like let's face reality?
That sucks.
Nope. All right, let me do it. Ben, I want you to give the same-ish reaction if you can do a good acting job. So you're hanging out with guys, I assume guys, but guys and girls that are 12 times poorer than you.
Yeah. I guess you never looked at it like that, but yeah.
Why?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. I just don't really know.
Pause. You see, like,
Yeah,
if you try and escape, I will put you back in the hole, because the whole point is you've got to get someone to take a reality check on their situation.
Mm-hmm.
If the person is playing ball, I don't need to be so harsh. And that's why when you said, well, where would you go next? Last time, Ben was like, yeah. And he was more serious about the fact that I said, you're hanging around with these guys and girls that are 12 times poorer than you. He was like, yeah. So I wouldn't say why, because then it's too aggressive. But because the second time, he was like, oh, yeah, I guess you could say that. Ha, ha, ha. I'm like, why? And then now he's like, I can't deny that I'm choosing this reality. You see, like, how it's so, and hopefully, and I hope it doesn't upset any of you that I'm like, I don't know where I would go unless I'm in the role play, because it's so individualized. But on the same side of that, put in the chat, folks, and Bart and Ben, can you see why it's so individualized? Like, it's literally what Ben does in the second is going to determine how I respond. So there, it is 100% unscripted, guys. If Ben responds like this, I'll probably say this. If Ben responds like that, I'll say that. It's not even the same question. Neither is it the same dynamic or the same energy. And that's the whole art and essence of scriptless selling, is you're moving the conversation forward with the prospect. You're not steamrolling over the top of them. You're not going around them. You're playing ball with them. And as it's like that, like arcade ping pong game. It's like, if Ben moves over here to hit the ping pong ball back, well, I have to move mine down here. If I then move mine up here, he has to move his slider down there. It depends what the prospect's doing. But this means that you basically can't lose on a sales call, guys, because if you move here, I'll just move there. Like I can just move. Whereas if you're stuck, then that's why you lose prospects. So it's all individualized to the prospect and the moment on the sales call. Okay. All right. Let's jump back into the role play.
So Ben, you're hanging out with friends essentially 12 times poorer than you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something that you feel like is a problem or no?
Yeah. Yes. Because like there are things that I think would be I gotta stop reading the chats. So I mean, yeah, I feel like if I had maybe wealthier friends who are the same interests, not only could, we do more adventures and maybe go off and do cool trips or just something like something more interesting than going down and, I don't know, watching the football game or something. Like I could pay for all my friends and sometimes I do, but like just always have like when they start like expecting, oh, hey dude, you're making all the money. Like why don't you just pay for us? Like that stuff happens a lot. And so it is annoying. I don't want to just like obviously just ditch my friends, but I feel like having a better social circle, it would just make me feel a lot better.
How long have you felt like that's been something that's like annoying you?
Too premature, because we can't stretch the timeline when we don't know what is he feeling. Because he said it would make me feel better, but I don't know what the starting point is. Okay, well, how do you feel? I wouldn't say how do you feel, because it's not really as calibrated as it could be based on what he said. But before I answer how I would maybe do it, what is Ben's real problem right now?
He's a big fish in a small pond.
Nope. Literally, like the literal experience that he's going through. He gave you a word. What was the word he said? That was when the emotion came out. He's bothered by it.
Annoyed.
Did Ben? Yeah, go ahead.
Annoyed.
Nope, not that. That's just a general buzzword. Oh, it's frustrating. Oh, I'm annoyed. Blah 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 blah. What was the specific word for this? Well done, Zion. Expectation. It was it's not the money. Like, oh, I can pay all my friends Uber. I can pay all their pizza. I'm hanging out with guys that expect that of me. Well, there's a little piece of missing information in that, which is what's the reciprocal of that? And it's exactly what you sell, Bart, and it's exactly what you told us before the role play, which is he wants to hang around people that contribute to his life, not take from his life. It's not about Ben as a 8-figure millionaire is becoming poor, overpaying all of his friends' Ubers. It's not about that. He's not like, oh shit, my accountant told me you got to stop paying for your friends' Ubers. Not that. It's the emotional feeling of I'm hanging out with people that expect from me rather than give to me. They are not giving anything to me. They're just expecting. And so this way you got to hear the real pain and the real problem. So it was that word about expectation that you have to dig on. So there's an infinite number of ways you could ask a question about that. Frankly, as I've said before, guys, if we look at all the stuff that Ben said, if you try and phrase your question perfectly and you ask a perfectly phrased question about any of the other things that Ben said other than the expectation, you won't go anywhere in the call. If you ask a completely terribly phrased question about expectation, the call will move forward. Because it's not about how well did you word the question. It's of all the things Ben said, what's the thing you're supposed to talk about? You're supposed to talk about where the emotion came out, which is, and he said it like this. It was like disdain. It was like, and they just expect me. It was expect me. It was the intensity behind that word. That's where you're like, that's the thing that's pissing him off. I'm going to talk about that. And like, you could go as basic as saying, expecting. You could literally just say that. You just say expecting as a question mark, or you could say some really long, laborious question about interesting. So you said your friends are expecting it. It doesn't sound like you like that. What would you like? Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter what you say. It's what you're choosing to focus on that matters. This is the real skill of a salesperson, guys, is not your verbal acuity. It's your ability to take all the information, get rid of 95% of it, and target the one thing that matters. That's the skill of a master closer. That's what makes you money. Filtration, being able to filter things for what actually matters. And this is why the number one way to do that is to be so present and so tuned in. Because how the fuck are you going to know of 10 things he said, which one to focus on, if your logical brain is trying to do the analysis? Do I have a hierarchy of like, what's a prospect's higher pain point? Is it money? Is it friends? Is it expectation? If you try and logically analyze that, you won't get anywhere, guys. You have to emotionally feel it. He seemed pissed off when he said expectation. I'll go with that. And you'll be right 100% of the time. That's why we've got a pre-call checklist. It's why you have to do the internal mastery. It's why I slow down my breathing before I take a sales call. So I'm in slow motion. I'm like dodging the matrix bullets. Like I can see everything. That's why. Does this help everybody, guys, to see how this is all coming together? It's a great example of a role play to see some of these very important lessons that we've talked about for weeks and weeks. All right, keep going, Ben. Bart.
So you mentioned that your friends are expecting you to pay for them when you go out.
Yeah, a lot of the time, it's like, oh, dude, like you're making all this money. Why don't you just pay for us? Why don't, oh, dude, like fly us to Montreal. Let's go see the races. I can't even remember what the damn name is called. The Formula F1. Yeah. Just like things like that, in which I've totally done before. Like when I started making good money like 5 years ago, I was like, yeah, let's go. It was like Entourage, that old show. It was cool for a while because I was hanging out with my buddies and I was able to do stuff for people around me, which was awesome. And then it turned into, all the like not all the time, but like basically them just wanting to hit me up. Oh, like, can you buy me this? Can you like? It's basically that's what's going on.
Yeah. How has that changed the dynamic of the friendships?
Pause. You got to focus more on just being curious about listening and hearing and understanding his situation rather than trying to push the conversation forward. The more
Okay.
you get the prospect to just express their pain, that's what's actually doing the tie downs and doing the selling. The final stuff at the end of the call is you just clarifying, okay, so you said this, you don't want to do that anymore. Clear? Yes. This is your decision, not your wife's. Yes. Okay. Like it's very quick at the end. The real bit where the selling was done is Ben getting off of his chest all of the emotion of these situations. So when he said something, to paraphrase, like, oh yeah, they're asking me to buy stuff and blah, blah, blah. As Daniel said in the chat, the next obvious question is something around what's the issue with that? You don't have to say what's the issue with that, but the next obvious question is, okay, and this is the key difference between trying to
Mm.
move the conversation forward versus trying to go deeper. using in your head like the word and, like and more, and tell me more about that, that's going deeper. When you're trying to shift to something else, like, okay, what about this thing? That's when you're trying to push the conversation forward. When someone
Yeah.
says something juicy, your kind of philosophy should just be and then they tell you more and you're like, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
you're staying on the same topic, but you're like hitting it again, hitting it again, hitting it again, hitting it again. And as you do that, that's what's doing the selling. Whereas when you go into a topic and you go, okay, cool, what about this? And then you jump to something else, you haven't actually got the gravity out of that pain.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't, like, it's like a sponge. You got to wring the sponge and you got to get all that fucking water out the sponge. Can't just like give it a little wring and you're like, oh, it's dry now. It's like, no, it's not. There's all the juices in there. You got to wring that thing and get all the juice out of it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you're enjoying this training. Now, if you're brand new to the channel, you can skip this. But if you've been watching my videos for weeks or months, you've gotten value, you've implemented, you're making more money because of it, the question I have for you is, what are you doing? Still sitting on the outside? Are you someone who's going to continue to just watch free content when deep down you know being on the inside, being mentored by me directly, being around other unicorn closers is the thing that would take you to the next level? If you think you're getting value from the free content I'm putting out here on YouTube, what do you think happens inside the mastermind? So if you know you're ready, if you're at that point, you've seen what you needed to see, click the link below this video, jump inside. I'll see you there. Now back to the training.
Okay. So stay on that topic about his friends asking for things to buy. And the thing that I'm wondering about is, what's the issue?
So just quick question. I asked, has that changed the dynamic of the friendship? And so that's off subject from what he's saying. You're saying still stick with the brass tacks, kind of like what that actually looks like the past 5 years
It's not
for
so
him.
much what that looks
It's like you doing the work rather than me. That's how I understand it.
What do you mean, Ben?
Like, that question is more of like you leading the conversation in a way where like you're trying to do the work.
Yeah, you're kind of like,
Okay,
oh,
so
there's
what?
probably an issue with the friend dynamic. It's probably got worse. Let me ask that and see if it kind of takes Ben to sell himself over here. Whereas I'm just more curious about, tell me your story, Ben. Like, you've got these friends, they're asking you for money. You did buy the stuff. Like, what's going on? Like, I could literally just say, what's going on? And he'll keep telling me more pain, because I'm asking you to tell me your story, not try and get you to go through a bunch of checkpoints.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best analogy I've got to explain, guys. Get them to tell their story. Don't try and get them through checkpoints. When you're trying to say, oh, we've got checkpoint 1, let's get him to checkpoint 2 and checkpoint 3. They know what you're doing, guys, and they feel it. Plus, sales and selling someone isn't a series of, which is why scripts tell you the complete opposite. It's not a series of getting someone through the 7 checkpoints. Sales is having a deep conversation. And the biggest issue with the sales scripts is not that the scripts are so bad, because they obviously have decent questions on sometimes. The issue is you then get your head around the wrong philosophy, which is, oh, a sales script means I ask the opening question, I go through that checkpoint. Then I ask about the current situation, I go through that checkpoint. Then I ask about the problem and I go through that checkpoint. And so you're now seeing a sales call as a series of checkpoints that you're like sloping through, and you're like, oh, checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3. That's not what salespeople, guys. What salespeople is, let me just listen to you. And when they stop talking, you just basically say, keep talking, keep telling me more, keep telling me more. And you're just like opening them up. Does that make sense? Like the difference of like what real selling is. It's not a series of checkpoints and you're like, oh, I did the 7 checkpoints, so they're gonna buy now. No, you can do all 7 fucking checkpoints, still get an objection, and they don't buy. So it's not about the checkpoints. It's about the deep conversation. Okay, so keep going from there.
All right, Ben. So you said this started like 5 years ago. You just starting to pay for things for your friends. I've got to know what's like the craziest thing you bought for one of your friends.
Ah, man. Well, we went on like a $30,000 trip to Sweden. We rented a whole hotel room for a weekend and partied. I bought one of my friends like a side-by-side, like a $10,000, like a ATV thing for his cottage. So we all bought one. I actually got 4 of them for my friends. So it was about 40K just so that we could have fun. That's probably the 2 top of mind examples.
Wow, yeah. And anything else after that?
Just like little smaller things like trips. Stop reading the damn chat. Anyway,
Notice how you're still trying to pick a topic and like cast the rod over there and drop it into where you're already preconceiving that that's where the issue is going to be. Oh, is it like there's a highly real example, and I know Ben's playing the prospect, but I think he's doing a great job. I don't even think the issue is this guy bought anything expensive for his friends. If this was a real prospect, it's not that he bought 4 of his friends an ATV. It's like, no, I haven't bought them anything expensive. I just don't like the fact that they're takers more than givers. And this is the real, like, I'm sorry to ruin the fucking end of the story, guys, but like the reason this guy's on the call is not that the money that he's losing by spending it on his friends is an issue. It's the money that he's losing of opportunity cost of, if all of those days when I went boating with my friends over the last 5 years, I'd been hanging out with multimillionaires, how much more fucking money would I be making? How much more fun? How much more growth? How much more excellence? It's the opportunity cost of having not had baller friends that is what he's annoyed about. It's not actually the issue of my friends are costing me money. Does that make sense? And so you got to kind of see what the real issue is going to be, right? So the best way to do that is when Ben says, oh, I'm paying for their Ubers, I'm paying for their meals, it's been like that for a while. I would have said, so what's going on? And if I just say what's going on, he's like, well, like they're not progressing me, they're not making me grow, I'm just wasting my time. And then he's just going to spill the beans and it's all going to come out. And he's going to tell you what I just said. If this was a real call with a real prospect, it's the opportunity cost that's bothering him. Does this make sense? It's like when someone says, if you keep dating the girl that you know you shouldn't be dating, you'll never get to date the girl that you should. That's the issue for this guy. It's not that the girl he's actually dating is bad. It's just, unless I break up with her, I'll never get to be with the real one that I want to be with. And it's the opportunity cost of not being with that one that's the issue. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense, Josh. And my main takeaways right now are just like so what's going on, kind of way more high level, just keep him talking, keep him carrying on to see where he goes without deliberately trying to, push the conversation deeper or forward. I would just run into a wall. Like, I don't know if we keep getting specific, then I'm wondering, okay, well, at what point is he supposed to kind of reframe himself to admit that he needs to be around a higher level group of people? Like, at what point do I just kind of say, hey, all right, you've clearly see how this is not a great use of your time and money, but where does he? I don't know. Like, my point to where
I hate you.
interject. Yeah.
I hate you. So once you've actually understood the story, that's where you then want to probably do a timeline. Okay, so you've been hanging around with these guys that are not helping you grow. How many years or decades has that been? Oh, it's been 20 years. Okay, and so you mentioned, and this is what Ben said, which is something that I think you should have picked up on, because this was very important. You mentioned that even until fairly recently, you were okay with this. These were your friends. They were still nice guys. Was there something that shifted recently that you're no longer okay with hanging out with these types of guys? Yes, it was blank. And then when he says the turning point moment, after we understood the real problem and the real pain, then when he says the turning point moment, you say, interesting. You ask a little bit more about that. What happened? How did you feel? Blah, blah, blah. And then pretty much from there, you're like, okay, so let me ask you, man, how much longer do you want blank? And he'll say, not any longer. And the other side of the call that we need to talk about is, what do you think you need to replace those friends with the type of friends you do want? Have you identified what you're looking for in those types of replacement friends? Why us? And then that's it. That's the call done. But the juicy part of the call is making sure you have a conversation for 5 to 10 minutes about his real life experience that's bothering him. The real life experience, whatever it is. And for this guy, I know Ben played the story and there's no issue. We can stick with that if you want. for a real version of these prospects, it's not going to be, oh, I have my 10 friends and I bought them all a fucking car. No, that's not what it's going to be. It's going to be, no, my friends, like, I don't actually really pay anything for them. Sometimes it's an Uber, sometimes it's a pizza. But what's bothering me is they're not bringing anything to me. And that's an opportunity cost rather than a literal cost. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Keep going. What we'll do, Ben, just because I think it's the realistic prospect, tell me if you disagree. Let's just go back and imagine you didn't say you bought the guy's ATVs. And it's just, these are just guys that aren't contributing anything to your life, because that's going to be a very realistic prospect for Bart. Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, cool.
So Ben, like you said, the past 5 years, you've been buying your friends stuff. Like obviously you're making a lot more money than they are. You mentioned though, I mean, for most of that time, like you've been happy to. What shifted?
A few things. This past summer, I did a few trips. I went to Toronto a few weeks ago, met with some friends that were all business owners that were all fairly successful, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a really big contrast to what it's like back home. And went and hung out with my brother, who's also has a like construction company making 20 million a year, and it was nice to be with people that they're not always just trying to take from you. That's the best way I can describe it. And I don't really want to move. Maybe I do, I don't know, but that was the thing. I was just like, oh, you know what? It was so much different being with people that aren't always expecting you and asking things from you, and actually they understand you. They're on the same wavelength. They're ballers. It was just like a breath of fresh air.
A breath of fresh air. Okay. And how was that experience for you?
It was just like a breath of fresh air. No, it was good. Yeah, I mean,
did you realize anything?
That's very realistic. That's what the prospect would do. They'd be like, I just told you it was a breath of fresh air. Can't ask redundant questions. The thing is as well that you can't go much further in a call when there's a missing piece of information. What is the missing piece of information, guys? Ben said it again, and I still don't have clarity on what he means. Put it in the chat if you know what the missing piece is. What happened about what, Daniel? The missing piece of information, guys, is we've got a word, and the word is taking, but I don't know taking what? What are your friends taking from you? He said 3 times in the call, oh, I'm hanging around these friends that are just taking from me. Well, what are they taking? And that's where you get to something real, because we've addressed the intangible. Oh, I'm hanging around all these friends that are taking. Okay, interesting. What exactly are they taking? And then he would have to think about it himself, and he would go, because the first thought in his head would be, oh, well, they're not actually taking money from me. They're not actually taking anything. But then he would start thinking, because he is feeling the feeling of their taking, but he's not literally analyzed what they're taking. That's what you're making the prospect do on the call, to analyze their own feelings and understand what's causing them. And he would then go, oh yeah, what are they taking? Well, I guess they're not actually taking money. Well, what they are taking is my growth opportunity. And that's the conclusion he would come to. So you're helping someone unravel their sentiments into tangibles. That's what you're doing on a sales call. Does that make sense? And then, because he's then given us the full story, you could say, okay, that makes total sense. So they are taking away your growth opportunity. Beautiful segue to then go, I'm curious, did you have any growth opportunities from the time you just had a week ago? Oh yeah, it was this. We're doing business here. We've done this, blah, blah, blah. And then now you've got this insane gap. And then the final nail in the coffin, I would go, have you hung out with your old friends since you got back? And he'd be like, oh, I can't hide from that question. Right? Because imagine that as an emotional roller coaster of a story narrative. We've talked many times, guys, about the story arc and a hero's journey. It's like, have shit friends, felt like that's my lot in life. Met these baller friends, loved it, went back to my shit friends. Like, as far as like an emotional story, It doesn't really get any better than that.
Like
And
rags
then,
to
and
riches,
then
to rags, but with friends.
yeah, 100%. And then the real pain is not so much, which is why he's on a sales call, by the way, is not I've got these loser friends. The real pain is I've got loser friends. I've gone and hung out with cool friends, baller guys, and now I'm back to my loser friends. It's it's like the person that's always had abs. No, how to explain that the other way? The person that used to be fat and then lost weight is not in as painful a situation as the person that is fat, lost weight, and then went fat again. That person's like, oh, I've already experienced what it was like to be with abs, and now I've gone back to being fat. That's even worse. Like, he probably wasn't ready to take a sales call when he was like, my friends are losers. But now he's gone back to the loser friends. He's like, oh, I can't do this anymore. This is too much. You understand when you understand what really changes people, what drives them, what are the story arcs of how people get inspired, it becomes quite clear. It just takes a bit of time.
Ben had mentioned the contrast, and that actually made me think about that. Like, oh shoot, well, like what was the experience like with your friends? And then I, fumbled my thoughts
It's all right.
with,
We're working
with the
through it.
redundant question.
Keep
Where should
working
we-
on it.
Okay.
Jump in wherever you want. Ben will follow along.
Okay, so last weekend you went to Toronto, you got to connect with like some really, really cool guys. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was cool. We were just, you know, checking out some of the clubs in Toronto and going to some higher end places, and even just as simple as going out to dinner, and instead of the usual like, oh, who's going to pay, it's like, well, who's going to pay first, which is cool. And I was like, oh, it's like a good feeling, kind of being around people that they're not just expecting you to do everything for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and aside from like picking up the check and all that kind of stuff, like how was just being around those other people a different experience than your other friends?
Yeah, it was exciting in a way because they're doing big things in Toronto. This guy's buying this bar and this guy's buying this. They're doing things. They have opportunities. They have connections, and I just hate Toronto. I would never live there, but I'm like, damn, like I'm missing out.
Have you hung out with your friends since you got back to Halifax?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know what you mean. Ben knows what you mean, but you want to make it so explicit. His brain can't look for a little sneaky way out of associating to the pain. You've got to put a word in front of friends. So, and I don't mean like loser. No, I don't mean loser friends, but you said the friends from Halifax. I would probably put the word original or old. So I would say your old friends from Halifax or your original friends from Halifax. Because what you're basically saying is you've moved forward in life and you've regressed back to the past, back to the old way of doing things. Because that, again, that's the real thing that's bothering him, is moving forward and moving back. So I would just put a little filler word in there like, okay, have you gone back to your old friends since you got back? It's the old friends, it's the worst friends that you're really leaning on. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, keep going.
Yeah, it sounds like an awesome trip. And have you gone back to your old friends since getting back to Halifax?
Yeah, we hung out on the weekend.
Seems like that made you a
Played
little
pool.
bit. Seems like that made you a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, it's kind of like you date a really hot girl, and then you kind of go back to your wife who's kind of fat, and you're like, wait, sorry, that's a horrible example. I mean, not that I would date a girl if I was married, but you go from a hot, you know what I mean? I gotta stop reading the chat, dude. Like, Christians in my head.
I'm not sure if we can go with that analogy for YouTube, but
It's kind of like, it's kind of like you drive a really nice car, and then you go back to your shitty Toyota, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
okay. And so my question for you, Ben, is have you had enough of driving the shitty car now that you know what it feels like to be in a supercar?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay. I'm still not 100% clear what it is about having the supercar, as far as we could call it a supercar founders community as
Yeah.
opposed to driving the old beat up car? What is actually the difference for you? I understand you feel different. They're not asking you to pay, but what's the real difference for you between those two experiences?
Well, for me, the reason why I started the business in the first place is because I want the best out of life. I take my health really serious. I try to have the best girl I could get. I try to make as much money as I can. And the only lagging part has been my friend, my social circle. And it's obviously making money has taken priority. But now that I feel like that's handled, the other parts of my life are pretty handled. This one has become just more and more of a glaringly obvious thing to fix.
Hmm. You said lagging behind compared to wanting the best of the best. Just so I can understand your side of things, if you were to put these guys that you just recently hung out with on the trip on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as best of the best, or that type of general caliber as a 10 out of 10, where would you put your old friends on that same scale out of 10?
3, maybe 2 or 3.
Okay. Why?
I mean, they're nice. We have a lot of funny memories and stuff together, but they're just not really going anywhere with their life. They're still talking about stuff that we did 10 years ago that, oh, we should have did this or that, or, they're just living in the past. There's nothing much going there. I like them as people, but, I feel like there's better opportunities if I was connecting with more like-minded people.
How much longer do you want to keep them company in the past?
Not another day.
Watch this, everyone, because you need to understand specific objections for specific offers. So watch this. So I'll just go back so it has flow. I said, why? No, how much longer are you going to stay living in the past? You said not any longer. I think I said why, blah, blah, blah. Now, what about loyalty, Ben?
I'm not necessarily going to never talk to them again. I guess, what about it?
Well, how do you think they're going to feel when you basically move up and move on?
I feel like we've already kind of been drifting apart already. I used to see them every single weekend, go party and drink beers, and I might see them every 3 to, I don't know, maybe once a month, let's just say, maybe if not 2 or 3 months. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I kind of have to just focus on what I want, my goals, and that's fine. That's
Makes total sense. That's what all the guys in our network are doing, whilst they're obviously collaborative and they're helpful to one another. The true difference between these types of guys versus your old friends is, in a nice way, they're selfish. Like they want to go after what they want, and they're not willing to just kind of keep each other company, so to speak. Does that resonate with what you're feeling and wanting to experience as well?
yeah, definitely.
Okay, got it. Let me pause. Do you all see the individualization of objections, guys? He could have given me at the end of a call a think about it or a money objection that was nothing to do with think about it or money. It was to do with the little part of him that was like, getting rid of my old friends.
Feel guilty.
We've been buddies for 10 years. We've been buddies for 15 years. And exactly like Bart said, guilty. But someone doesn't feel that guilty when the offer is free. Oh, I just get to hang out with some millionaires. But when there's a price tag, we look for rationalizations, and the best rationalizations are the moral compass rationalizations. Oh, it's 15 grand. I'm going to be loyal to my friends. No, motherfucker. It's not because you're going to be loyal. It's because it was 15 grand. And now you're looking for the most objectable reason to get out of it. So I'm going to handle that. There's no other, you're not going to give me a money objection because it's expensive, because you're an 8-figure earner. You're going to give me it's $40,000 a year to be in the mastermind. Oh, I don't know. Not sure. Nothing to do with that. To do with moral compass as an objection. Does that make sense? So you got to see where the potential objections could come up, and you're already 10 steps ahead. And this is not anything more, guys, than the life you've already lived. You've all had friends that you grew out of, and you were like, I kind of need to let these people go. And you and them whether you discussed it openly or not, had a bit of friction of like, you know, I don't really want you to grow out of the friendship, and I know that I'm a burden for you. And you've all been through that, guys, whether it's with friends or romantic partners. So nothing I'm saying is that I've lived some crazy life experience that you haven't lived. It's just, I understand real selling is connecting your real life to a real conversation. Whereas a lot of you are like, this is a sales call, this is my real life, and they're not connected. It's like, no, guys, your real life experiences are the things that you need to talk like a human being would talk on a sales call. Like, to really hammer the point home, if we took Bart and Ben off this role play and they were actually friends in real life, and this was a conversation between two friends, and let's say Bart was a multimillionaire, Ben was a multimillionaire, but Ben also has a bunch of poor friends, and Ben goes to Bart, not on a sales call, just as a friend, and says, dude, I think I just want to start hanging out with millionaires. Bart, as a good friend, would probably say, well, what about if there's like some conflict of feeling like you have to be loyal to them, or maybe they get pissed off with that? You would just naturally think of saying that because it would just pop into your head. It doesn't pop into your head because you're like, oh, it's a sales call, we can't have a normal conversation. Does that make sense, guys? Like, it's nothing genius that I'm thinking of. It's just normal stuff that you would think about. Is that clear, everyone? You okay, Ben?
Yeah, I'm great.
Yeah. Are you connecting some dots, or what's going on?
Lots of dots. Oh yeah, dude, I got a whole page full of dots that
Nice.
I've connected.
How you doing, Bart?
Great. I mean, it's awesome that you went with that pre-handle on loyalty, because that is a big thing for sure in these calls when the conversation goes here. And if you asked, you know, well, why, like, are you going to wait another day? Or Ben said, I'm not going to wait another day. He would like follow that up immediately and qualify. But like, I love my friends, you know, I don't, and then do this whole, you know, justification kind of thing. So I'm a little blown away that you went with that, because that's like that's exactly what, you know, the next piece of it would be. Typically then it just throws off the conversation, but that you addressed it, it was like, whoa.
And the other part to it, aside from just me being real, just being a human being, when I have the real conversation, I'm actually leaning away from the sale. I'm not having the real conversation to Ben and saying, oh, dude, that's awesome that you're going to outgrow your friends, and like trying to pump him up and motivate him to do the objection handle. I'm actually like, but what about this? Like, could this not be a reason to not do this? You see the difference? So you got to have the real conversation, but you've also got to do it from the frame of basically complete detachment. Because if he does turn around and say, yes, it's going to be really hard to let go of my friends, and I don't think I've got it in me to do that, you ethically have to say, well, dude, we'd love to welcome you aboard. Seems like you're perfectly aligned on many things, but if that's not something that you're at a place where you can get over, I don't see that you're going to get massive value from this, because you're going to have one foot in your old friend circle and one foot in this. And quite frankly, you'll be neither present in either of them. And that would be my unsell. Now, at that point, if I had to unsell someone on that, they would obviously turn around and be like, oh, you're completely right. Fuck that. I'm getting rid of my old friends and I'm jumping in the program. But you're only going to get to that point from pure detachment. If you try and be attached to handle the objection, oh, Ben, yeah, you should let go of your old friends, blah, 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 blah. He's actually going to go back on that and be like, oh, no, you know, I kind of feel bad. Like, oh, I'm not sure. And that's because you're trying to push. Does this make sense as well? The detachment is so critical, the frame that you're coming from. Anybody confused in the chat?
I saw Daniel had a good question, which was, would you close the door on me going to Toronto 2 times a month instead of joining?
100%. That's another objection. Like, when are you next going to see these guys in Toronto? Oh, you know, 3 months from now. Okay, why not just do that every 3 months? Why not just do that? 100%. That's another objection. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, because I hate Toronto. Toronto sucks.
You did say that, but I want to tie it down. And you also did said you said you didn't. Oh no, actually, I don't think you said you didn't like Toronto in the role play. I think you said you don't want to have to travel. Is that not what you said?
I said I didn't want to move there.
Move there. Okay, fine.
Maybe
Guys,
that would have been.
We've gone so in and out of the role play, I think it might be a little bit difficult to kind of jump back in and understand where we are, but I'm more than happy to attempt that. What do you want to do, Bart? Do you think that you can jump back in and kind of go from wherever you want to start and just have some reps in? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm definitely
Okay,
open.
beautiful. All right, jump in wherever you want to start. You can go from wherever you would like to take the call from. Excellent.
Okay, cool. Awesome, Ben. Well, just, looking at the notes from your call with Andy, I got all those details. I'm just curious to hear from you. What's the biggest challenge for you right now as a founder?
My biggest challenge as a founder right now, business-wise, I mean, I get like a million challenges, always trying to scale and grow. But personally, I think it's just balancing out my life outside of work with finding the right people, having a good network, maybe making more friends doing the same things I'm doing, and just kind of like spicing that part of my life up a bit.
Spicing that part of your life up a bit in terms of just meeting more people, having more friends?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like right now it's my life is.
So again, very contextual. Of all the things that Ben said, what's the thing that's most an objection or something that could be a conflict? Listen to what he said in completeness. He said, I've got 1,000 problems in my business and my personal stuff, need to spice that up. What's the,
Well, that he doesn't have time for making new friends.
well, we don't want to judge. We don't want to assume. We want to consider that as an open-ended question without any assumption. So what could you say, Bart, to be curious about that?
I have an idea.
Let's see if Bart has one.
How much time outside of all your business challenges do you have to
Before
invest?
that, higher level, more abstract than that. We don't need to know directly how much time he has yet.
Okay. I don't
Do you
know.
want to have? No worries. So I would come back to Ben and I would say, understood. So you got a million problems in your business, as all of our members do, but you also don't have the spice that you want in your personal life. So what I'm curious on, Ben, is given that you have a million problems in business, where does putting the spice in your personal life rank in terms of things to get solved? Oh, it's number 1, 2, or 3. That's how you tackle it, because it's like, well, no one's going to move forward.
That was like word for
50.
Sorry. I was gonna say that's word for word what I was gonna ask, like almost word for, besides like the summary at the beginning. But yeah, that's
because nothing else matters, Bart. If he's turning around and saying, I've got a million business problems, I'm also looking at my personal life. Unless if he turns around and says, well, this is like priority number 20 on the list, he's not going to buy anything. But as I've said before, guys, they're on an inbound sales call. So they're going to tell you it's number 1, 2, or 3 because it's an inbound sales call. But they have to tell you that, and you have to get them to tell themselves that. If you just leave it as a obvious thing, like, well, it's an inbound sales call, he says he's got a million problems, this is obviously high priority, you're skipping through the natural conversation that you need to have. Does that make sense, Bart? So what I want you to do to work on over and above anything else is when you ask a question, don't be listening to actually to wait till Ben finishes and get out your next question. I want you to be listening to think, what should I ask about? Until Ben finishes talking, I don't even know what my next question is going to be because I don't know what information he's going to give me. Once he'd finished talking, I was like, okay, his personal life is not very spicy. Sure, that's important. But what's more important is he's got a million business problems. So why, if you've got a million business problems, if you do you want to prioritize this pretty high up? Well, I want to do it for blank, blank, blank reason. Oh, okay, cool. Tell me more about not having the spice. And then we would go into that. But I'm not going to go into that first before he says it's a priority, given the context of how he responded. Is that clear, Bart?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
It's not just trying to figure out what specific piece I need to ask a question about. It's just like being open to what should I be asking about, given that he's giving me all this information, rather than going forward on just one piece, it's going to leave behind a trail of like, hey, well, actually, it's not that important. I just thought you guys looked cool on your ads.
You want to view it like a funnel, meaning if we don't solve this, nothing else in part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matters. If you view it as a funnel, like this has to be resolved first before anything else is relevant, then you'll know what to go into first. Does that make sense? Like viewing it as what is going to nullify everything else. If he doesn't prioritize this over his million business problems, no other question you ask matters. Not a single other question. It's totally irrelevant. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Keep going.
Yeah, so Ben, given that you've got a million business problems, how does your social life rank in terms of just importance of spicing things up, as you said?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's something that I have to prioritize. I just have to make time for it because otherwise my tendency is to just be all about business and just focus on, how it is, grow the business, go to the gym, hanging out with your girlfriend, and then next thing you know, it's been 6 months and you've done no social activities and you kind of feel like I don't know, like a hermit.
And why is that a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like life's not all about just working. We've made enough money that I want to actually enjoy my time, enjoy hanging out with interesting people that are doing similar things as me, go on adventures, just connect with people, I don't know, I don't know. As you're getting older, it's just like you realize time is going by quicker and you have to pause to enjoy life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, Ben, if you think about all of the time that you have right now, how much time are you currently spending outside of work doing those, more social kind of activities?
Good topic, but ask the question in a way that we're going to get specific information, not general information. Great topic. Try rephrasing the question.
Okay, so Ben, what are you doing now in terms of getting that social outlet rather than just working?
Now is still abstract. Like
Right.
now as in this year, now as in today, now as in this month. Much better to say something like this. And don't worry about the way I phrased the question. Look at the frame that I'm putting the information in. Okay, understood. So what has that breakdown looked like between business and personal over the last 30 days? Oh, well, I basically haven't done anything but business. Interesting. What about for the last year? Oh, yeah, it's pretty much been the same. You see how now we have a very literal picture. Blank period of time, blank percentage of the time is on business, blank percentage is on personal. As opposed to, what does that look like now? Oh, it's all business. When is all business? Today, this month, this week? Like, I don't know what container I'm putting that information in. Do you understand the difference and how it feels different to the prospect? All right, keep going.
Because what I really want to know is recently, like up until this point, you said past 30 days, that's actually the data. I mean, now we're on, like literally we're on the sales call. So it doesn't make as much sense.
All right, keep going.
So Ben, in terms of just the overall breakdown, how much you're working, how much you're spending, socializing and doing these other things, how is that broken down like over the past month?
I'm pretty much working 7 days a week. On maybe one weekend, I might go hang out with some friends just to blow off some steam, but nothing too crazy at the moment.
And has that been enough for you in the past month to fill your cup?
Get more data first. Before we ask about the feelings or how it's been going, get the data. So what's an additional piece of data that we could get to broaden our understanding of that problem?
Timeline.
100%. Timeline. Okay. And Ben even gave you the clue. I think he said recently. I think was the word. He said
Mhm.
some word. He was like, oh, yeah, it's been like that recently or something. So I would want to know, well, since when?
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, it's been like 2 years like that.
Mhm.
Interesting. So in the
Right.
last 2 years, it sounds like pretty much one weekend per month you've done social, which is 2 days out of 30. So over the last two 2 years, you've basically had a, call it 6% of your life has been having fun, enjoying it, and 94% has been business, business, business. Is that accurate? Now he's like, oh shit, when we put it in that terms, because now we've got two terminologies. We've got 96% over 2 years. So
Mhm.
that's really making him feel the relevance of that information.
And then Josh, I mean, to the previous point, would you, because if he was like, yeah, it's just been 96%, business or whatever of the past 2 years, what if that's what he likes? I mean, did he say enough already before? Or is that something that you'd want to suss out further that it's like, well, is that what you want to be doing? Because he did
How do
tell
you
me,
feel? How do you feel about that?
yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
would ask. But
But we also want to ask that question more in the frame of, okay, you've chosen it this way. What's changed? You've chosen it to be that way until now. What's changed? Well, now I don't want that ratio. Okay, what ratio would you like? I would like 50-50. Why? Why do you want an additional 46% of your life to be personal stuff? So yes, we need to know that information, but 100%.
Okay.
Okay. All right, keep going. Guys, we'll
Okay.
go for another 10 minutes and do Q&A. All right, so let's see how far we go.
Cool. So past 30 days, you got to get away a couple times with a buddy to blow off some steam, like you said. Is that typical, or I mean, is like what's the past year look like?
yeah, this past year I've gone on maybe 3 trips, like one for business, one to visit family, one with my girlfriend, but like that's pretty standard. And then as far as hanging out with friends, it's roughly the same. I usually maybe see them once a month on a weekend, maybe like a Saturday or something like that.
Okay. And I mean, when it comes to travel, at least, and like you mentioned, the trip with your girlfriend, is that cadence something that you like? Like, how does that?
Hey, yeah. I mean, I know like we could go on more trips and go here and go there, but at the same time, I mean, going on trips with your girlfriend is kind of boring, like I'd rather have like cool friends that I could connect with and maybe in different cities, giving excuses to go to new places, but also meet more interesting people. And I guess I could bring the girlfriend too, but yeah, dude, I forget the question now.
Yeah. So
Understood.
no, I mean, you got the trip with your girlfriend. It sounds like that's a cadence that you're happy with. It's just the amount of time you're spending doing more adventurous stuff with friends. That's the breakdown that you're looking to improve upon, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Make sure you don't miss out their words. Cool friends. It's not
Hmm.
just friends, it's cool friends. It was very
Friends.
specific about
Hmm.
what, and we need to go into what that means, but you got to make sure you don't drop those words
Right.
because they're
So,
where the emotion.
mhm. So then how often over the course of a year then are you doing cool things with cool friends?
Once, once a year,
Okay.
maybe twice. It just kind of depends on how busy I get. For example, we went to Costa Rica back in May. Went to the big mansion and went on a yacht, and we were doing e-foiling, which is like surfing with a motor. It's really cool. Went to Dubai, went to, Poland, Colombia, but they're kind of like few and far between. And sometimes I meet cool people there, or I already know them, which is nice. But it's it's again few and far between.
What's keeping them from being more often?
I just don't really have a. I don't know. Like I feel like if I had a group of people that's what they do, it was more predictable. Like maybe they schedule these things. That would help. But it's always just been random. I might have a friend that's like, "Hey, I'm over and I'm going to Dubai in a month to go see the UFC fights in Abu Dhabi. Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." But yeah, it's kind of just completely random.
So it sounds like you want those type of cool experiences with the right level of people to basically be on tap for you as and when you want to access that.
Yeah.
And the reason that you don't have that, just to make sure I'm clear, is you don't have a large enough abundance of those caliber of people. So you're trying to like align up schedules, and basically it turns out to 98% of the year, bar one weekend, like actually 99.999% of the year, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so what I'm curious about is, what is the reason that you want those types of cool experiences more often?
Well, I work super hard, and I would like, if I'm going to, take time away to not work, it be something that's super memorable. And because just hanging out around here in Halifax is I mean, I've pretty much seen everything there is to do. It's so like, I guess just capitalizing on my free time.
Okay, so let me clarify that I've got this right. So you work very hard, you're doing well in business, and the issue is when you do take time off, it basically has to be, for want of a more meaningful word, has to be stimulating enough for you that you even feel like you took time off. Otherwise, you're like, oh, I stopped working to go to the cinema with my friends. What was the point in that? Is that?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. Yeah. I mean, I grew this business to the point where it's at. I mean, the goal was to have a cooler lifestyle. And then a few years into it, I'm like, damn, I'm still, my lifestyle is now just working all day. And so I feel like I'm missing out on the, I guess, the lifestyle and aspect, and meeting more interesting, cool people. And
So you
situation.
understood. So you built a business to have a cooler lifestyle, thinking, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ben, that what will give you the cooler lifestyle is just having the money and the time freedom as well. But what you've now realized is, even if I have the money and the time, but I don't have the network, I can't have a cool life.
Yeah.
Okay. We obviously have a lot of guys that were in your position before they joined us or joined another similar mastermind. I'm curious for you, given you've worked so hard and accomplished so much professionally, to not then be able to have what you originally wanted, which is a cool life, how does that feel?
It's super frustrating. It sucks.
Okay. What about that sucks?
Yeah. I mean, there's just days where I feel like I'm just doing all this for nothing. I'm like, yeah, I have a nicer place, I have a cooler car, but those are just things. And I, I don't know. It's not really what I thought it would be when I started.
Watch me now sell the cause to the effect. Okay, so you built a business, you made money, you bought back your time. I'm curious, how long have you been building businesses for?
The past 10 years.
Okay. And between the different businesses you've built and the version of you that you've built to accomplish those, if you were to just ballpark the number, how much money have you invested to be able to build the businesses that give you the cash and the time? Total in business, in yourself, total invested money.
Millions, probably.
Okay.
Million.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, that multi-million-dollar investment, how much has that given you what you wanted for a cool lifestyle in terms of the money and the time? 10 being, yeah, it gave me what I needed in terms of money and time.
Sorry, is this a question? How much time and money did it give me, or how much cool lifestyle did it give me? Or
Well, to have the cool lifestyle, we're breaking down that you need money, you need time, and you need a network. Of the first two, time and money, putting multi-millions of dollars of investment into building businesses to get the cash flow and the time, on a scale of 1 to 10, how successfully is that accomplished, knocking off those first two?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably free up my time a bit more, but I feel like I have the money. I have enough time to go and do what I want, really when I want.
So if you were to put it on a
So
scale of
scale 1 to 10, probably like a 9.
Beautiful. How much have you invested into building a better social network?
I've joined masterminds in the past, but usually that was just for business. But there was a social aspect. But I guess specifically for social network, like maybe I don't know if you would include maybe like a country club or something like that, 10 grand.
And if I'm hearing you right from earlier on in the call, on a scale of 1 to 10, the level that you've accomplished, the cool lifestyle from network is basically a 0. Is that accurate?
Pretty much.
Do you think part of the problem has been that you haven't operated using the same principles to solve the final third problem as you did to solve the first 2 problems? You just thought time would just solve it for you.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
Okay. So I'm curious then, why, if it is now the time that you want to allocate some of your financial resources to solving this final bottleneck? Because
I mean, it's been a decade. So like if I had to like map out the amount of, I don't know, cool experiences I've had over the past 3 or 4 years compared to how much I worked and how much money I'm making, it's not enough. I feel like I've reached a level now where I've earned it, and I'm trying to.
That's okay. Let me see if I've got this right to make sure I understand. And this is the same as all the other people that have joined our mastermind. You got into business because you wanted a cool lifestyle. And the 3 components that would allow you to do that are money, time, and people, having the right people around you. You've shown up as a professional in the first 2: professional moneymaker, professional time buyer backer. But in the area of social network, with all due respect, you've been an amateur. And the difference between a professional and an amateur is what? Professionals invest in themselves. Amateurs just wait for a paycheck. You've just been waiting for the handout of, oh, look, all the cool friends that I wanted, just like a 9-to-5er would. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So are you at the point now where you're willing to actually be a professional, just like you have in business, with your cool lifestyle network?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. There's many different networks you could join. Why do you want to be a professional on our team as opposed to go and play for another team?
I don't know anything about your team. But okay.
Just make something up.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw some of the videos that you guys sent over, and I think what you guys are doing looks awesome. And yeah, it's the best looking founder like type of mastermind like this I've seen. So
Do you feel like, from what you have seen from the outside looking in, that the cool people that you're looking for to solve the final side of the trifecta are people that you're going to find in this mastermind?
yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. So if we have the people you're looking for, the only difference between how you've solved the first 2 sides of the trifecta and not solved the third is you haven't operated professionally like you did on the first 2. You've just been an amateur. You haven't invested in that third side. And the big issue is that you do not have the opportunity regularly enough to go on these cool lifestyle trips that you built your whole business to accomplish for yourself, more than 1 weekend a year. My question for you is there anything that is missing or could get in the way of you basically being accepted into this mastermind and solving this problem for you? Is there anything we haven't covered?
On my end, no. It depends if you guys will accept me.
Oh, well, that's up to you. Are you ready to step up and play as a professional in the social side of your life?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And when do you want to do that?
Right now.
Okay, cool. Then we have alignment. What you're looking to do, what we offer here, is 100% aligned. I can basically take you through the details, A through to Z, and then we'll go ahead and we'll fill in this missing piece of the trifecta for you, so that starting now, you have an on-tap social network of high-value individuals that you can go and do cool things with any day of the week that you decide you want to go and live the life that you built your business for.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Does that make sense, Bart? Like how I'm kind of wrapping it all together. And I didn't want to pause the role play, but one of the other things that I did, which taught me very early days, stepping into the prospect's use of their wording. This is the type of person that would say things like allocate, resources, investing. So I'm using that terminology for two reasons. Number one, because he understands it. But number two, so he knows that I understand it. If I'm talking that way and that's your language, you're like, oh, they speak my language. And that is another rapport builder. It's a rapport condenser. It really densifies that rapport. And so that was another little thing that I threw in at the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So
Thank you.
loads of different things that we're doing on that role play, guys. I know that some of it doesn't quite connect together because we're jumping in one role play, changing the prospect, then I'm jumping in, then Bart's jumping in. But I believe that there's more than enough things that you can add into your sales calls. So we'll do a quick Q&A and then we'll wrap up. Ben, Q&A. You got any takeaways, resources?
Yeah.
Takeaways,
Dude, I got takeaways.
Beautiful.
So what you were doing at the end with the scale 1 to 10 thing, actually my first takeaway is like, I'm like, what is he going to say next? When you've been on a bunch of sales calls, you kind of already know, but I'm like, I have no idea where Josh is going to go, which is an interesting feeling. It kind of kept me engaged. But I felt like what you were doing there was like, okay, so you're a professional in here, but you're an amateur here. So you're challenging my identity, which made it like very hard for me to, no, I don't want to be a professional in this thing that's important. There's no way I could basically get out of that. But just my notes, some of the big takeaways, getting them to open up, tell them their story. And like, I think of it like a balloon. You're letting out all this, getting all the stuff off your chest. And like, that is what's really starting to sell them. What you did when you're dissipating the pressure, because when you were asking me questions, I responded one way, but when Bart did, I responded a different way. And then you're like, why? I was like, oh shit. Like reading the person enough to know like, okay, like, am I holding their feet to the fire? Is the pressure on them right now? That was big. I think the filtration of like knowing, I kind of think of it like you're like a gold prospector, like at the river, like, okay, based on what he just said, what should I ask? Well, he said about this. Well, let me ask about that versus just instantly responding. Well, like, what do you mean by spicy? So like pausing there, I think is a big one, and opening them up to close them. This is the big thing I wrote down.
And then he's like, and then actually my favorite part was Ben saying, well, if I'm accepted, like people say that all the time when we get down into that stuff. And then you just pushed it back. Well, like, unless you commit to being aligned with this and we get there, I mean, the implication was that you're almost there, like you're almost accepted, but you have to buy in fully. So I think like an offer specific thing, that was a big takeaway for me because I've, simped many, many times before being like, yeah, I mean, from my end, this is totally aligned and so on and so forth, but there's still the uncertainty or there's still not them. They're still not taking full ownership. And now they have the ticket. Now they've been invited to the club. Now they can think about it. Now the ball's in their court.
Yeah.
So I really liked that punch back was like, well, like we're not finished here. Like, let's get you fully committed. And then you're like, okay, we are 100% aligned now.
Very well spotted.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great.
You're basically saying to someone, they said, if I'm accepted, and in a more calibrated way, you're turning around and saying, well, this mastermind is for professionals. And then they have to be like, I am a professional. I am doing this professionally. I am professionally investing in my social circle. They have to jump and bite at the bait. You're basically saying, this is our standard. It is what it is. And then they have to justify and sell themselves to your standard. You just do it more calibrated than that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add just a few things. You were doing some things, Josh, which were like, I don't want to call them sneaky, but subtle things. You were like when I said, yeah, I'm very busy. I got 1,000 things. You're like, yeah, like all of our other clients. It's like, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then when like the way that Bart said it was not the way that you said going from professional to amateur. Because Bart, you were like, oh, if you're ready to invest to become a professional, then you can do it. Josh defined what a professional is, which is like a professional, someone who invests. Are you ready to be a professional? Which is like a subtle. And I was like, well, yeah.
Mm.
But I did have a few other notes. Like, I wrote down like, what are they not saying based off of like the expectation thing? I think that was a big piece that we didn't touch on as well. Like being so tuned into the person. This is the thing that I always get from you, Josh, is you're so tuned in. You're like these little words and little like it's like a little blip in their emotions. Like, there it is. So you don't have to, you can trust your intuition because it's, if you're just tuning into them, you're not just listening to what they say, but like how they're saying it and you're always right. So
100%. It's glaringly obvious if you slow your presence down to be fully present. You can't miss it, guys. It's just, I don't think many people have ever understood the depth of actually slowing everything down. Like people do meditation for 10 minutes a day and they're like, oh, I'm super zen now. It's, well, a sales call is doing that for an hour straight. If anybody's ever tried meditating for an hour straight, it's really fucking difficult. So that's essentially the level that you're getting to, is I can stay zen for an hour. And then, by the way, I've got 7 back-to-back calls. So you're basically doing a 7-hour meditation per day, which, even though that sounds daunting, guys, it's like on a sales call is you're getting paid to learn how to become zen. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. If you had to look at your schedule and you're like, I want to get really good at becoming more peaceful and doing meditation, I'm going to try meditating for 3-4 hours a day. You'd be like, shit, I need to make money. And you'd have this like, what do I do? Whereas this is, you're going to get paid to literally chill the fuck out and just talk to someone. Well, that doesn't get any better than that, guys. You're just doing meditation practice all day long and just listening to someone and being curious. And you make 30, 40, 50, 80, $100,000 a month. That's why when I was in high ticket sales, I was like, am I missing something here? Like, am I actually getting paid this amount of money to just talk to someone and just love living the best, most biohacked, higher level version of myself? Or is there like a scam here? Like, am I missing something? And there is no scam. It's just, most people just do not understand or comprehend the level of incredible opportunity that high ticket sales is, because they see it as a read a script and make 10K. Well, you can do it that way. And if that's how little you want to capitalize on this opportunity, that's fine. Or you can do it as make 100K a month and become the best version of yourself and have great time on calls. And the difference, as I talked about in Marbella, is how you approach high ticket sales. Are you approaching it as a 10K a month read a script job, which is what most people, they call it, I'm an entrepreneur, but it's just a job? Or are you approaching it as, this is my magnum opus in life. This is my great work. This is my artistry. This is my masterclass in my life experience. This is the greatest project of my life. And if you approach it that way, you'll make a lot more money, have a lot more fun, become a lot more. And you will, your only thing that you need to be careful of is you'll be like, am I missing something? Like, is there a scam here? Like, that's the only thing to worry about is, and I say that jokingly, is you'll start questioning, like, have I missed something here? Is it really this good? And I'll tell you from experience, guys, no, it is just that good if you just lock in.
Yeah. I wrote down one other thing, which I forgot. My notes are all over the place. The way you stack frames. I wrote frame stacking. This is one other thing I thought was cool, because you're like, okay, you're asking the data, but there's no timeline. You need to box it into a frame. Listen, in the past 30 days, how did you split up between your business and your social life? Okay, got it. How does that compare to the past year? Okay, makes sense. And then like that's like, I guess the second part of the frame is you calculating that out. So that's 94% of the time you were doing this, and those both put together, like boom, like I like fuck, yeah, you're right, shit, dude.
Yeah, you're like triangulating 2 lines to cross. If you just have one line or another one line, it's like there's no dot. It has to cross at a certain point, and that's where you hit. You know, it's like if you've got a sniper rifle. If you're trying to shoot a bullet and you're only doing the horizontal line, not the vertical, you might be at the right altitude where you shoot the bullet, but it's just going to go in the right height, but it could go completely to the right or completely to the left. You have to get the crosshairs, and that's essentially what you're doing, is you're triangulating all these things and going, if I shoot my shot here, I can't miss. And that's also what I've said many times, guys, about precision, which is, sure, I lost some sales calls, but in general, I closed almost all my calls. It wasn't random. It was like I've tuned the crosshairs and I shoot my shot. It's probably going to hit the target on a bullseye. It can't really go in the wrong direction. Like the only thing, which was some of my sales calls, were you take the bullet and you shoot the bullet, and for some random reason, a gust of wind comes and you're like, well, I couldn't have predicted that. Like I did everything in my power to get the crosshairs aligned and take the shot. And for the most part, if you do this properly, you should be able to close almost all your calls. Later in the call, I would always try and do some horizontal stuff if I've got time. And the horizontal would have been, I would have referenced what he said. Okay, so you got this problem with this specific, this specific, this specific. I'm curious, you mentioned that you have 1 million problems in business. What impact do you think this social, personal problem is having on you solving those problems? Oh, I think it's definitely connected. Okay, how so? Well, I think if I have more downtime and I'm enjoying my downtime, when I do get back to work, I'll be on the ball and I'll close more deals. Interesting. If you were to kind of, put a number on it, and I know it's somewhat artificial, but do you think this would give you a 20% lift, a 50% lift, a 200% lift? What would you put it as? And I'm just getting like a very ballpark random number, but just to kind of quantify it a little bit. Oh, I think this would give me like a 500% lift. Wow, how much did you say your business is doing a year? Oh, it's doing 10 million. Shit, that would be like an extra 40 million over the next few years if you solve this. Is that, am I calculating this incorrectly? No, I think it would be. And we're having this kind of, it's almost tongue-in-cheek, but it is also somewhat realistic. But I'm doing it in a playful way because I know we're talking about some kind of abstract numbers here, but we do need to have that side of the conversation, which is these things are connected. They're not mutually exclusive. We solve the personal or the professional. They are all connected. So the principle and the philosophy that you're saying, spot on. Everything's connected.
I feel like this training really flowed well from Wednesday's live. Had a couple takeaways. The biggest one that stood out to me was about how you said it's not about leading the prospect through checkpoints. It's about just, hey, tell me your story. What is going on? If you have time, I'd love to ask how you reconcile that with the quadrants that we cover in Scriptless. And because I'm thinking, okay, now I need now and attempts to cross the river, et cetera, et cetera. How do you balance those two things? Like needing information, but not making it a checkpoint.
So I know that if I don't cover one of the quadrants, I won't have the full story. But it's not that I'm trying to push the story into the quadrant. It's like, okay, I've got the idea of who the characters are, where they're located, but I don't know, like, is it a sunny day or is it a rainy day? Like, that's pretty important because that's going to change the whole dynamic. So the quadrants are more like, what are the variables? It's not, I need to push the story into a certain direction. It's like every story has characters, a location, a narrative, like what are they doing? Where are they going? Things like that. And so you kind of look at those variables, and when you're understanding their story, you need those things. I need to know, what are they doing right now? What are the numbers around that? What have they tried in the past? Why are they on this side of the river? So that I get the complete picture of the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like the quadrants are like the setting and the frame of the story.
100%.
Okay.
And so now I have this kind of idea of, okay, I need 4 corners and a weather scene, and is there male characters, female characters? Are they young? Are they old? What's going on? But every story still has that frame, and you just then decide what's going into it. Whereas what a lot of you are doing is trying to push the story through those things. Does that make sense? As opposed to allowing it to unfold.
Absolutely.
Great
I'm
question.
guilty, but working on it.
Awesome. Great question.
All right, another high ticket sales role play. So many different things that I know you're missing in your sales calls. I'm going to go through them in brief so you can remember what to execute on. The number one skill of rich closers is filtering for the right information. At the start of the role play, Ben was saying, my friends are expecting me to pay. And it was the expecting that was where the emotion was. Your big job on a sales call is not just to listen, not just to talk, but to talk, to get the prospect talking, to then be able to listen so that you can do the most important skill, which is filter that information for what really matters. The best way to do that is to get access to more of these trainings and be on the inside where you can be the prospect and you can be the closer, and I can show you in real time how you would be filtering incorrectly and how to make the changes and start filtering correctly. If you don't filter the right information on a sales call, I guarantee you will not make the money that you could be earning. Huge, huge, huge mistake, an error, and money leak for most high-ticket closers is not filtering properly. Next one is understanding people, understanding the hero's journey or story arc. So we were talking about how Ben had gone from bad friends to good friends and back to bad friends. And it's understanding the story and the forces that are at play that allows you to get inside your prospect's experience, which makes them feel connected to and listened to and understood, and that allows you to close them. If you don't understand this and you're just going through your scripted questions, you'll lose a lot of prospects, especially the high-level ones that want you to understand their story, not be trying to sell them. Next one is offer specific objections. Sure, you've got your objection handling basics, partner, time, money, think about it. But there's so many other objections, and if the only thing you're doing is objection handling training for those basics, not realizing that when someone says, oh, all the objections fit in these 4 categories, no, they don't. All the objections you will hear fall into those 4 categories, but the real objection may have been, like I said with this guy, now it's a lot of money, I'm not sure I want to be a dick to my friends and let them go, and they're going to use that as the rationalization in their head, but then they'll say something like, think about it, or money. You have to understand what a real objection is, which is any reason for the prospect to not buy, and then know and be able to execute what I did on this training, which is be able to handle them in the discovery. I guarantee you, if all you're doing is standardized objection handling training, you're still going to lose so many deals to objections, because it may not be the money, the time, the partner, or that they need to think about it. It's they know full well what the objection is or the concern, the restriction, and you just haven't talked about it. And they're just going to scurry off and not buy. And then the final one is Ben saying, I have no idea where Josh is going to go. Well, that's the opposite of most of your prospects. They know exactly what you're going to ask next, how you're going to ask it, and your intention behind asking it. Imagine how boring that is for your prospects, and imagine how much it turns them off and makes them just not want to buy from you. So that's a handful of the things that we went through on this sales role play. There is so many more things that are out there in sales mastery for you to learn, and each one of those things that you learn and you implement into your sales calls prints you more money. Every single one of these things is another sales call closed that you wouldn't have closed. If you want help to actually learn these things, to implement them on your calls, and to make more money by getting around the other unicorns, working with me directly, being inside the mastermind, and learning from me, who is someone that earned $100,000 a month in commissions, then click the link below this video. Hop in, I'll see you on the inside, and we can get you to a place where you're mastering sales by understanding human beings, by actually ditching the script, having a way deeper conversation, and ultimately making the money that you truly want to make so that you can go to the next level in life as a person and tangibly. If that's something you want, click the link below this video, and I'll see you inside.